So AWAB exists to support congregations who want to go through that process of saying, we are going to be welcoming and affirming. The reality is, for every congregation, that process is going to be different. So what AWAB historically has done has been able to come alongside congregations and provide support, resources, provide that moral support needed to keep going through that process. And again, for every church, it's going to be different. Sometimes AWAB has to connect or network a church that's going through that process with another church that's already gone through that process. Sometimes AWAB can come alongside and say, here are some physical resources that you can find on our website, awab.org, and that these will help you as you go through the discernment process. In truth, we also provide consulting services so that we will come alongside a congregation and help discern what best fits that congregation as it goes through the process to say, yes, we're going to be welcoming and affirming. It's hard work. And part of what makes it hard, it's hard for every congregation because everyone has a story. I once was told when I was going through my own coming out journey, I was told by a therapist, Brian, when you come out, not only are you coming out, but everyone that you tell, you're going to challenge them to have to go through their own coming out process. And that's the reality for a congregation. A congregation, from a systemic point of view, goes through a coming out process. And every single individual in that congregation has to go through that process too, individually, but then also collectively. And so AWAB wants to support as many congregations as we can. However, sometimes it's the congregation that has to take the first step, the first phone call, the first email to say, hey, we need help. And so while AWAB is monitoring congregations just through our own networks and connections across the Baptist landscape, it's also imperative for congregations themselves who are beginning that process to say, we need help. I just recently had a congregation call me, pastor of the church, called to say, hey, we just had a sermon experience where people responded afterwards and were saying, maybe it's time for us to begin thinking about being welcoming and affirming. Maybe it's time for us to join AWAB. What does this mean? So to that pastor's credit, he courageously sent an email, and then that email led to a phone call, and that phone call led to a conversation, and that conversation now has led to a whole community of people beginning to go through that journey the same as we are. So AWAB does its best to reach out to churches that we learn of, that we know of, but also congregations need to reach out to AWAB too.